Well, hi there, and welcome to the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. I am Caleb Jones, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men, location-independent income, dating multiple attractive women, the freest, did I say freest? The freest lifestyle a man can live in the modern era, the typical man, without having to be super rich or a billionaire or any of that stuff. If you're watching the video version, you can tell I'm still here in my apartment in Paraguay. I will be here for about another week. A week or so? Yeah, I think that's about right. I don't know where you and I are going to end up at the end of this podcast. I don't know where we're going to, I don't know what the end of this journey will look like. I really don't know. These are one of these weird topics. Not difficult topics, but weird topics. The challenge with, this is not the topic of this podcast. This is kind of a preface to the topic. This is something that's been on my mind. The topic of this podcast has really been on my mind the last few days. So I'm like, I gotta make a podcast about this. But I realized before sitting down and giving you this topic, I have to address something else first. And that is that in the last few years of my life, a few years now, 5, 6 years, I don't know how many, I have entered into a zone financially and with my woman life where I no longer have the relatability with my audience that I used to have. So, I can use so many examples, like the way this manifests. For example, I don't know. My idea of having a super FB, instead of having my wife and multiple women on the side, having my wife and one key woman on the side. A lot of you love that idea, but a lot of you were like, what the fuck? Why would you possibly do that? Why would you, instead of date all these women and have sex with all these girls, just have sex with 2? That's insane. Now, that reaction makes sense if you're some 28-year-old guy who's had sex with 7 girls in your whole life. Makes perfect sense. That's not me. I'm a 51-year-old man. I've been living the alpha male non-monogamous lifestyle for going on to 17 years now. I have been with literally the number of women I've been with, not just been with sexually, but had relationships with, ongoing non-monogamous relations, epi, NLTR, OLTR, is well into the triple digits. I have sex now with women who are like Instagram models, and you know, I've lived every fantasy I've talked about this, every fantasy I've ever lived in my life, and I've been doing it for over a decade. If you were in my place, then this would sound appealing. But you're not, the vast majority of you aren't. The vast majority of you aren't even anywhere near that. I'm not saying as a dig on you, I'm just giving you the reality. So that's why a lot of things that I will mention in my content these days, a big percentage of my audience goes, what? Why is Caleb doing that? That doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. He's an idiot. Or I can't relate. Or why is he doing something so strange? That doesn't make sense. It's a relatability factor. I've lost some of this with some of you. And I may continue to do so as I continue to grow and improve. Same thing with my income. I am at an income level, and I have been for a while now, where less than 1% of you listen to this podcast or watch this video are anywhere near. And so if I talk about, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit today in this podcast, what I'm going through and things I'm trying to do and aspects of my current life, a lot of you will be like, well, fuck, I could never do that. Well, why is Caleb talking about this? Now, some of you will love it. And some of you will be like, you can't relate to it. And this has happened over the last few years by content, and I'm not sure what to do about this. I could just not talk about it and just talk about purely technique on podcasts like this and my content. But when I talk about my life and what I'm going through and my journey, so to speak, that's kind of a lame word, but my journey in life, a lot of you really like it. The podcasts are very popular. There's more downloads. More of you listen. You like hearing stories from my life. You guys like that. Even though the stories from my life are going to become less and less relatable as time goes on. And I'm not done improving. This is part of this podcast is about. But I've seen, comments and like in my Facebook group comments and social media comments and emails sometimes and things like that, where a percentage of the audience is like, I liked your content. I like your content, Caleb, you're great. But I liked your content better back when you were going lots of first dates. So you're talking more about game and banging chicks and what to do on a first date, a second date, and lock in and da-da-da. Well, I understand. The problem is not the problem. The scenario is I have, at this point in my life, at age 51, I am married. I have a wife that looks like a Playboy playmate with a literally perfect body, who is the literal exact archetype of woman I like. In addition to that, I have a non-monogamous marriage where I'm having sex with an active harem of about 16 different women, literally active right now, spread over about 5 different countries. Does that sound like a guy that needs to go on more first dates and get more girls? No. So that's why I'm in a different place now. I have improved and optimized my woman life, so I don't need to go on first dates anymore. Therefore, you're going to hear less content from me, not zero, but less about what to do on a second date. Now, here's the problem. That statement I just made about my woman life right now, that statement right there kills or dampens a lot of relatability with a lot of you. A lot of you just went, oh my God, I could never do that. Oh, I can't relate to this. And of course, there's a percentage of you, if you don't know me very well, like, oh, that's bullshit. This guy's making that up. It's not bullshit. This is how I've been living life for a long, long time. And those of you who know me well, you know this. But even if you know me, you're like, well, geez, I'm just a guy who, I want to have 2 FBs and 2 MLTRs, and I just want to start dating girls. How does that help me with Caleb, all these women? And see the problem? So, and I don't know what to do about this problem. I don't know, because it's going to get worse as in better for me. My life's going to improve and improve and improve and improve over time, especially financially. I've kind of optimized the woman's side of it. But financially, it's going to improve and improve and improve. And I don't know how to continue to provide content that is real and honest, but is also relatable, because most of my content, not most, a percentage of my content won't be. Just the fact, hang on a second. Just the fact that I live a 5 flags lifestyle. I'm here in Paraguay, I live in Dubai, I have flags in Mexico and Panama and Armenia and the UK and Hong Kong and the United States. And just the fact that I live that lifestyle, a lot of you like that, but a lot of you are like, well, I don't want to do any of that. There's no way I would, that would be cool, but there's no way I could do that. I'm married, or I have kids, or I'm a dork, I have no money, I can't. Just that creates a problem in terms, again, of relatability. So I don't have a solution for this other than to just keep plowing and keep talking about what I'm doing and see if you guys like it or not. And so this podcast, and we still haven't gotten to the topic of this podcast. This is not the topic of this podcast, it's relatability. It's not the topic. But the topic directly relates to, here's what I'm saying. Long-winded way of me saying, the topic I'm now going to discuss of things that I'm working on now, less than 1% of you listening to these words will be able to fully relate to it. And maybe that's an example. Okay, maybe it's 5%, but still 5%. So that's the preface I wanted to give you. If your reaction is, wow, this is really interesting, I love this stuff, then great, let me know. If your reaction in this podcast is, this is great, but this really doesn't help me, Caleb. I don't, could you talk about online dating, or could you talk about how to find a niche, or could you talk about, that's fine too. Let me know. Let me know. Give me feedback and let me know where you are. All I know is what podcasts do well and how much downloads we get and which videos get more views and clicks. And since my transition on YouTube, where I don't give a fuck about YouTube anymore, I barely even look at those views anymore. I really don't care. I focus on the metrics that are really important, like my mailing list metrics. Those are the important ones. And no one sees those. But anyway. Okay, so anyway, let's get to the actual topic, which you may or may not give a shit about. And maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe this will be fine. You guys will like this, and this will be a perfectly normal podcast. And I'm just saying that I know I'm going to get some comments saying, "No, Caleb, we love listening to what you're working on right now. That's great." Now you may say that, you may think that as an individual. I don't know if the audience as a whole, if the swath of the audience likes this content or whatever. I don't know. This is why I have no idea where we're going to be on this podcast. But this is definitely something that's been on my mind for a while. I want to talk about it. Some of you will relate to this. Some of you, if you don't relate to this, you will later. You will in a few years. Because myself, if this was my 46-year-old self listening to this podcast, I would have went, well, that's interesting, but I wouldn't relate to it too much. But today I'm living this. Anyway, here's the topic of this podcast. Topic of this podcast is that what I'm working on right now is, let me give you a little background. My 40s, and I've said this before, my 40s in terms of that decade of my life was a paradise. On a scale from 1 to 10, my 40s was an 11. It was a dream come true, heaven on earth. My 40s was awesome. And that's saying a lot because my 20s were pretty goddamn good. They weren't perfect. There were some problems. They weren't as good as my 40s, but my 20s were pretty good. Most guys' 20s were terrible. My 20s were fucking great. Not perfect, but very good. A scale of 1 to 10, I would say my 20s were probably a, 7.5, maybe an 8. My 40s was an 11. My 30s was not good. Half my 30s was not good. The second half was good, but very chaotic. 40s was awesome. So my objective, and something I'm focused on 100% right now, something I think about a lot, is that my objective is to make my 50s, that decade of my 50s, better than my 40s. And that's going to be hard. I'm talking about how I'm going to do this. That's a tall order because my 40s were pretty fucking awesome. And when I say awesome, I'm talking about awesome across the board. Women, dating, finances, 5 flags, business, happiness, even health and fitness. I look a lot better and feel a lot better in terms of my health and fitness than I did just 6-7 years ago, even though I'm 6-7 years older. I mean, like by a long stretch. Got a lot of more work to do. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So as part of that goal to make my 50s better than even my 40s, I have to do 2 things. I have to do two things at the same time. What I'm working on right now, and I've been working on this for a few years now, but this is really ramped up in the past 2 years. Year and a half, certainly right now, my God. I have to scale my life. So what I mean by that, I'll give you more details in a minute. Scale my income, scale my company, scale my 5 flags to a degree, scale, build, grow, and at the same time, simplify my life. Oops, right. So I'm trying to scale things and simplify things at the same time. And that is really hard. That is, and possibly will be, over the next year or two as I continue to do this, one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my entire life. To scale what I'm doing in a really cool way, in a significant way, while simplifying my life. Because the objective is, when I hit 54, I'm 51 and a half. I sound like a 2-year-old. I'm 2 and a half. When I'm 51 and a half, I think that's right. When I'm 54, my objective, and this has been an objective I've had for 15 years now, it's nothing new, been talking about this for 10 plus years, is to move into the next phase of my life at age 54 and work and cut back my work where I'm not working to earn income. Right now I work for money. I want the cash. 54, I won't give a shit about money. I will work because I want to do it, to express myself in the world, express myself in the marketplace, help people not worry about how much money it costs and things like that. That doesn't mean I'll be doing one-on-one coaching in my 50s. No, I don't have time. But you get my point. And that means that A, I need to make more money than I make now. B, my life needs to be simpler, not more complex. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, when someone makes more money, their work hours increase. They don't decrease, they go up. One of the objectives I have is to work 3 days a week. Work 3 days a week and that's it. Work 4 days a week. Take 3 days a week off. So maintain a very strong, I'll say 7-figure income. Okay, I have to be ambiguous about this stuff. While maintaining a 4-day work week. And when I say 4 days, I don't mean like 4 blow my brains out 12-hour days. 4 normal days where I work a few hours in the morning, take some time off, work a few hours at night, and that's it. Or in the afternoon, and that's it. 4 days a week, take 3 days off. On average, okay? And do that by the time I'm 54. So that means not only do I need to make more money, I have to simplify my life so I can get away with maintaining an income like that that is significant beyond Alpha 2.0 stuff while working small number of hours per week, okay? And I've already mentioned, well, Caleb, can't you do that now? Yeah, I can do that now, but I've said, if I could do 2 days a week right now. I could work 2 days a week right now. I could do it and not lose any income. People would be angry, but I could do it. But what have I said? The caveat to this, my income would not grow. I would be stuck at my current income. And you could even argue my income may actually decline a little bit over time, like over the decades. Possible. So my income would grow. So that's why I don't do that right now. I have very specific benchmarks and numbers for my financial life in terms of my income, my businesses, my investments, all those things. And so my objective is to hit those by the time I'm 54. And that way I can still work. I will work the rest of my life. Retirement is stupid. Retirement was invented by German elites in the late 1800s. It has no bearing on you today. It's this ridiculous concept. So I will never retire. I will work the rest of my life until I cannot work anymore. But I won't work the hours I'm working now. I'll work, like I said, 4 days a week. And this will be, and it's shaping up to be one of the hardest things I've ever done. I've done some hard things. Now, I can do it, and I know how to do it. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I can do this. So it's not like, oh no, I don't know if I can do it. Oh, I can fucking do it. I'm ready. Let's go. But still, it's going to be some work, and it has been some work. The last, 4 or 5 months in particular, and last year was some work, and scaling my life while simplifying. This is, by the way, why 5 Flags is such a strong component of my business life. When my 5 Flags is 100% done, it's going to really simplify a lot for me. It already has simplified a lot, and it's created more complexity. Right? For example, my tax structures will be much more simple when I'm no longer a legal American. That will be simplified, okay? But that's going to take some time, right? Because I don't want to have no passport. I want to have 2 passports after my American passport goes bye-bye. So I can't just rush into that. So I'm going to have to, take time to do. So that's just an example. Now what's interesting is, this leads into the next level of problem with this, is that I am 51 years old. Now I know I don't look 51 or act 51. I understand all that. But I'm still 51. And what's interesting is that when I'm going into this phase of my life now, working on something that is one of the biggest or hardest things I've ever done, if not the hardest thing I've ever done, I'm doing this in my 50s. This is the time where, and I know a lot of men in their 50s are around my age, where most men, the vast majority of men in their 50s, start winding shit down. They start winding down their work. The kids are moved out. They start winding down their income. They start winding down. They give less of a shit about fitness and stuff. They start really letting themselves go. Guys, mostly do it in their 40s, but they really do it in their 50s. They take more time off. And they're starting, I need to enjoy life. Oh, the kids are gone. I'm going to enjoy life now with my wife or with my girlfriend. I'm going to take it easy because now I'm in my 50s. My back hurts. And so it's funny is that while most men I know who are my age are starting to wind down, I'm not only ramping up, but ramping up harder than I ever have in my entire life. Way more than my 20s, certainly more than my 40s, and similar to my 30s because that was a big that was a big time of transition as well. So that is interesting. And age. So on top of scaling my life and simplifying my life at the same time, I also have to improve and maintain the improvement of my physical fitness. Not done there. And hang on a second, I'm getting a text. I didn't turn off my phone. I probably should have done that, huh? There we go. Popular guy today. The problem with that is, and I've said this, and it's right, and you guys over 35, you know what I'm talking about here. Every year over the age of 35, past 35, your health and fitness as a man gets a little harder. Every year you age past 35, your fitness gets a little harder. Just a little bit every year. Just a little bit, it's subtle. But it adds up when you're in your 50s. Even if you're very healthy like me and active, and you exercise, and you eat right, you drink water, and you get all the sleep, you do everything, TRT, all the stuff I'm doing, okay? Still, I'm lifting a lot of weights right now. Now, right now I'm not because I injured myself. I'll talk about that in a second because I'm so fucking old. But when you lift heavy, I've been lifting weights off and on since I was in high school. I like it. It's an enjoyable thing for me. There is and again, you older guys will completely relate to this. You guys who are 35 or younger will have no idea what I'm saying. But you guys who are 35, you will understand. When you lift heavy and you're 22, Arnold talked about this in Pumping Iron back when he was in his 20s. it almost feels good. It's hard when you're trying to bench press 300 fucking pounds, and it's hard. You're like, ah, and your head's exploding. It's hard and it hurts, but it feels kind of good. And the reason it feels good, and feels good is not the right term. You get my point. You guys who lift weights heavy, you know what I'm talking about, right? You can, when you're 22 or 18 or 28 or 31, all of which were ages I lifted heavy, you can feel your body working with you. So when you're bench pressing or you're squatting or you're doing deadlifts, big, heavy compound shit, it hurts, but you can feel your body say, fuck yeah, man, let's fucking do this. And your body is kind of on your side. It's your ally. When you lift heavy when you're 51, it doesn't feel like that. Even if you lift in the same amount of weight or more or even less, it doesn't feel like that. When you lift heavy when you're 51, it feels completely different. You feel as you're going in that squat, man, you're going down and you're going back up on that squat or whatever. Your entire body, instead of saying, yeah, man, let's fucking go, bro, let's do this, which is what your body says when you're under 35. When you're in your 40s, 50s, and God forbid 60s, although I'm not there yet, your body is kind of fighting you. Your body's saying, what the fuck are you doing? No, we shouldn't be doing this. What are you doing? No. And so you're not just fighting the weight, you're fighting your own body. Because you can feel it. It just feels different, man. And if you're young, wait till you're 51, if you still lift weights, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. You guys are my age, you understand exactly what I'm talking about, right? It doesn't mean you can't do it. I can lift heavy. I'm reasonably strong. I'm certainly stronger than the vast majority of men my age. Okay, I'm by far. But I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just, it feels different. It's harder. You have to use a lot more mental energy when you lift weights when you're 51. And you can also fucking injure yourself. So I think I've mentioned this on an AMA. I did a webinar I did a while back. I now have, and here's the thing. I have never injured myself lifting weights in my entire life, ever. And I've been lifting heavy. I was doing 5x5s, 3x5, heavy shit, okay? Never injured myself, not once when I was a young man. Today, I am no longer to do any, at this moment, I'm no longer to lift any weights, my upper body, because I have what's called golfer's elbow. So I can show you on the video here, this thing right here. Now, if you're listening to the podcast, imagine your elbow, the other side of your elbow, that little crook in your arm, that little soft part that, when you close your arm, it's that little part there. That hurts. It doesn't hurt right now. But if I close my arms like this and I twist my wrists, I can feel this slight little pinch pain down there. And it's a tendon. I pulled the tendons in both my fucking arms from doing heavy curls and doing them the way I used to do them when I was in my 20s and 30s. In your 20s, 30s, you just go boom, 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 yeah, fuck. Okay, you can't do that when you're 51, even though you're physically able to do it, you tear your tendon. And the problem is, if you keep lifting weights, your tendon will heal incorrectly and then you need surgery. So you just have to stop lifting weights, sometimes for weeks, sometimes, my God, for months, until your tendon fucking heals. Tendons take a long time to heal, especially when you're over 40, because tendons don't get the blood flow that muscles get. And so what I was gonna get, there's a procedure you could get where they actually pull the platelets out of your bloodstream and they inject them into the tendon. Doesn't sound very fun. I was going to do that, but they don't do that here in Paraguay. I'm here in Paraguay for weeks. So I have to wait for this to get back to Dubai. And so I haven't been able to lift weights for weeks on my upper body because of this problem. And it's because I was doing one-arm heavy preacher curls. And so my trainers are like, bro, you can't lift like that. You're not 28 anymore. You're 51. You're an old man. They didn't say old man. I said that. So you have to go really slow, very slow up. Slow down. You can't just, rip that thing like you could in your 30s. You can physically do it, but then you're going to tear shit. So that's just an example of when you lift weights and when you exercise, when you're in your 50s or 40s versus when you're in your 20s and 30s. Now, thank God I have not noticed a difference sexually in my body. I'm still able to do it. I don't need Viagra and that stuff. So that part's good, but God knows when that'll start happening. 60s, I don't know when that'll start. Where my dick won't work as well, even though I'm on TRT and things like that. Eventually that'll start happening, and then I'll have to deal with that. Not a big deal, but fortunately they've cured that problem. They have Viagra and Cialis, and they do work, and so that's fine. But this is all on top of all this fitness stuff. Fitness, getting older as an old man, okay? All this is on top of me scaling my life and simplifying. So I have three things going at once. I have to scale my life, which is very important. I have to simplify my life at the same time. How the fuck do you simplify when you scale? Now, I know how to do it. It's hard. On top of that, I have to be fit. I have to get fit and stay fit as a man in his 50s. Fuck! And again, now I realize why, and I've mentioned this on a prior video I did a little while ago. I realize why so many men my age just say, oh, fuck it. And they just, they just settle in. They just get fat. They start cutting back on work. They start taking more vacations, right? They if they're dating lots of women, they stop. They get monogamous because it's just, it's too much work. Betas. And a lot of it, not just beta males. This is also the age at which a lot of exhausted alpha male 1.0s convert to beta. This is very common. I've talked about this a lot in my books. Once the alpha male 1.0 ages to a certain age, he starts becoming a beta, especially if he's monogamous. This is exactly what happened to my dad. My dad was an alpha male 1.0 as a kid. Over decades and decades of monogamy and just getting tired, he became a beta male. It's very, very common. It's a standard progression of the alpha male 1.0. Very few alpha male 1.0s stay alpha male 1.0s well into their 70s. For Stallone did it, but for every Stallone, you've got 100 guys who became betas, right? So I understand now why so many men my age don't want to do this. And one second. When I do masterminds and events, in-person events, we just did a mastermind in Paraguay the other day. A lot of young guys look at guys my age and go, oh my God, I'm so worried that when I'm your age, when I'm 51, women won't like me because I'll be so old. Or I won't be able to lift weights because I'll be so old. Or I'll just be, I'll just be too tired to work because I'll be so old, my testosterone will be in the shit. And what's sad is, statistically speaking, now that individual guy, that may not happen. But statistically speaking, those guys are right. Because statistically speaking, most guys, late 40s, 50s, they do let themselves go. They do get fat. They do get ugly. They do, cut back on the energy. They just start watching more TV and working less and less motivated, and they let their mission go. And yeah, that's the norm. So I'm very, very happy that I'm not in that category, and I will never be in that category. Thank God. I'm never going to stagnate. I will continue to grow even after I'm 54. I will just grow in different ways. But still means I have a lot of work ahead of me at a time where most guys would start kicking back. I was talking to, I won't say this person is. I was talking to a person who I like, who is around my age, 2-3 years older, but same part of area of life. And he was talking about the same exact thing. What I just mentioned, like, oh yeah, man, I'm cutting the girls, his children moved out of the house, thank God. Fucking they're gone. And me and my wife are just gonna relax. We're gonna go to Spain and relax. I'm cutting back on work and she's cutting back on work now. And I'm just, I was dieting and stopped dieting 3 years ago and getting fat, but who cares? I'm in my 50s now, who cares? And he's starting to wind down. And it's, yeah. So how are we doing on time of this podcast? Oh, we're on some time here. I've been talking my ass off, haven't I? That's really it. That's what I'm going through now, and that's what I'm working on now. And I would love to talk about this more, but I don't have to. There are a lot of topics I could talk to you guys about that I want to talk to you guys about. If you want me to go into more specifics on what I mean by scaling from where I am now. Now, again, if you're just starting your Alpha 2.0 business, or you just started a few years ago, scaling an already large company to an even larger company is probably not something you can relate to or have any interest in. Maybe you love that stuff. Let me know. If you want to know more detail about how I'm scaling while simplifying at the same time, I can certainly talk about that. I mean, even the books that I am now reading. The last book I just finished, I've finished 3 books. I'm reading books a lot because as you scale and simplify, you have to learn new shit. And so I just finished a book called Buy Back Your Time. Recommended to me by my buddy, John Somnez, Bulldog Mindset. And fantastic, fantastic book. Loved every minute of it. Got a lot of valuable data out of it. Pulled a lot of stuff from my to-do list. But it's not a book I would recommend to most of you because most of you are not in that scenario. It's for CEOs who are so fucking busy running their big companies and they need to simplify their time. Do you have that problem? Now, some of you do. There's a percentage of you, but most of you don't. So even the books that I'm now reading are not books that I would recommend all of you would read because it would be a waste of your time. You need to read other books. Make sense? So, but anyway, let me know. I can certainly talk about this more. And if you don't like these topics, of course you cannot hurt my feelings. I'm not going to pin it. But if a lot of you don't like this or just it's interesting but I can't relate to it, let me know either in comments or emails or however you want to do that, and let me know. That's valuable information to me because I'm just guessing. And if you don't like it, great. I have plenty of other things to discuss with you besides this. Don't worry. We talk much more tactically and things like that in these podcasts and things like that, or stories from my past that you guys like that. I'll keep doing that about when I was a beta, because that's why you guys like those stories about when I was a beta, because they're more relatable, right? Right. So it makes more sense maybe for me to talk about stories from my past, recent past, than talk about what I'm going through now. But again, let me know. Maybe I'm worried too much about this, like I said. Maybe I'm repeating myself too. I'm kind of meandering, aren't I? That's it for this podcast. Again, let me know. I will see you in the next podcast. Have fun.